Good to see you, Kwadwo.
Hi, nice. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Kofi Kapito is on Zoom, and John Jinapa, who is ranking member of Mines and Energy Committee, and MP for Yapeko Sogo has also joined on Zoom. Thank you so much for joining. Let me start with you, Kwadwo Poku. There's been back and forth on this matter. The point that actually struck me is where Iyoko and National Security had to come in to demand for a source code for a third party. I mean, who is to be blamed for this whole situation?
Well, good evening, and let me say good evening to all the KMP fans in the Western region. I know they are watching. They will beat me if I don't say good evening to them in the Takoradi area, and all the KMP fans working around the country. Look, let's go straight to the point. There is no such thing as source code to a third party. There's no such thing.
But that was said by the manager himself. ECG
no, that's not. He did not say that there was a source code to a third party. Okay. That's not what he said.
What really happened?
Okay, so ECG is an organization that basically needs transparency. We've always heard of ECG's problems. It predates every managing director. ECG had their problems for the past 10, 15 years. ECG has commercial losses of more than 19%, technical losses of 10%. The current managing director was a board member of ECG for 4 years before he became the managing director. He was also the head of the account committee, right? So he's had a very in-depth idea of what goes on at ECG. So he comes in and he wants to do something different. He wants to change a lot of things. And one of the things that everybody has been telling ECG is that we need to reduce the commercial losses from 19% to an acceptable of under 10%. Okay. We all talk about illegal connection. So people are stealing electricity, right, by connecting illegally. People are stealing by not paying their bills. But then there is also another problem. ECG sells credit. The credit they sell, we in the civil society have many a times tried to get information on how their credit operation run. And every time we inquire about this problem, it becomes as if only one person has that information. Okay. So there is one person, from my information I have gathered, at ECG who controls all the vendors. And this selling of credit, to you and I, we take our card or our phone, we give money, and something is done, and it comes on our phone. Yeah. To one person who sits in front of a computer, he punches in and sends this amount of credit to this person, send this amount of credit to this person, right? Then he now does a reporting to director of financing how much credit he or she have sent out. Okay. So the MD says, look, no, we need transparency. If our whole entire operation is based on one person or one department controlling the credit system, we need to have checks and balances. So open it up, let director of finance and other departmental heads also see what is going on. Okay. As it stands now, what they do is what you call a database. So the database of how much credit they've sent to various regions and how much various regions have sent to various vendors, okay? He wants to change that into an accounting platform so that you can manipulate. You can now juxtapose that into your financials.
But certainly what has happened is
not. Hold on, I'm getting, that is what the problem is.
Because the MD himself says he doesn't know, he can't tell.
But I'm giving you, hold on, we are not getting to the hack stage yet. Okay. Please, you've asked a question. I'm giving you what is happening.
Go ahead.
Now, what happens now is that they are asking that the managing director of ECG and his managers are asking the IT department to give them some information. That information is not forthcoming. Okay. Bear in mind, there have been people who have been arrested in the Ashanti region for selling these prepaid credits to people, and they've been arrested and being prosecuted. Okay. That is public knowledge. There are vendors around the country that are not on the ECG vendor list. Okay. How do they get their credit? So the MD, trying to change things around at ECG, insists that the ECG IT department opens up and let's see what's going on. Okay. That is how the national security came in. The national security didn't come in to take a source code for a third party.
So what's the business of Haptel?
Haptel is a company that ECG is talking to help ECG develop a transparent platform.
Do we need a third party?
Yes, we do. Now, before you get there, let me explain to you. Look, Haptel developed .gov. You know that, right? They .gov, the government platform where everybody pays everything. They developed .gov.
Okay.
Now, if ECG, the management of ECG thinks that they need a transparent platform, it's not up to you, the IT department, to tell the management what they need or they don't need.
Okay.
If you have grievances, petition the board.
Okay.
If you have grievances, you can petition the minister. Okay. But you cannot decide that I developed this thing, I would not give it out.
Are you saying that it's a deliberate attempt, an internal, orchestrated something to frustrate everyone?
Which one?
Are you saying that the IT people
but you see, we haven't gotten there yet. I'm telling you that the first statement you made was that there was an attempt to take a source code for a third party.
Exactly.
And I'm explaining to you that there is no such thing. The source code is not even a source code. It's information on how much credit has been sold.
Yeah.
Give us accountability.
Yes.
And they were resistant. That is how the national security and Yoko came in. So there is no conversation of a third party. That Haptel conversation you just mentioned is a whole different conversation. So internally, don't you think the director of finance at ECG has a right to know how much credit the IT department is sending out? Don't you think she has it?
So after getting the source code, then what?
After getting what source code?
The code that the
No, it's not the source code. It is the information, credit.
Information.
When you talk about source code, you see, let's not confuse your viewers. Source code is you develop a software.
Yeah.
The source code is the key you use to develop the software. Nobody is asking the IT department to give anybody any source code.
But that's what the
so that's why I'm here to explain to you and explain to your viewers.
Explain to us.
Nobody is asking anybody for a source code. Internal ECG. Don't you think, or doesn't your viewers think, that the director of finance at ECG needs to know how much credit the IT department is sending out to sell?
So
she has a right to know, but she doesn't have that.
Okay.
So if the managing director insists that the IT department give access to the director of finance, is that a problem? So if somebody is talking about a third-party Haptel is a different conversation.
Okay.
Now, let's move on to the problem around the country. Nobody knows what's going on, okay? Nobody has come in to say that, look, from my sources at ECG, they have interviewed the director of IT, all the big people at IT. Nobody has been able to put on paper that there's a hack. Okay. All this hack thing is somebody speculating, or there's a disturbance. Let me give you an example. Before you started, you said that there is problems around the country. My little understanding of IT and my little understanding of how ECG metering works. Okay. There are various vendors. There's Nuri, there's Ernest, there's IMES, there's quite a number of companies. Okay. Everybody has their server in the IT room, okay? So when you go to Kumasi, let's say there is Ernest meters, right? And there is IMES meters in Kumasi. In the IT room in Kumasi, all these companies have their different servers. They are not linked. Okay. So if there's a hack, and let's even assume IMES is hacked, how does IMES system gets a problem? Okay? So nobody wants to say that there's a deliberate attempt to sabotage. There's an investigation going on, and at the end of the investigation, for me, I've told ECG management that if they don't put it out there, Poku will put it out there, because we need to get to the bottom of some of these things. Okay. Today, thousands of people around the country are suffering because of some people's resistance to open up what they are supposed to open up. Okay. You cannot have one person, okay, dictating millions and millions and millions of dollars. Sam George put something out there. I don't know who Sam George has been talking to, but that statement is close to dead on the money. Okay? That there is, be it a cabal, be it a group of people, that now determines who gets what, how much is sold. And there is also the online platform, which that's the one that you talk about the source code. The online platform was developed by the IT department. The IT department are the ones that controls it. When the payment is made, it goes to the telcos. When ECG finance department goes to the telcos to take their money, okay, the amount of credit that the IT department have sold on the platform does not tally with the money that they are supposed to get from the telcos. So there is clearly a problem. IT shouldn't override every department in ECG. ECG's problem predates every MD. We've had ECG's problem for the last 10, 15 years. There are commercial losses of 19%. Did not just start with Dubik. So if the MD has come in and wants to change and make sure that the tax that he's been given to reduce the commercial losses from 19%, and everybody's eye has always been on illegal connection. He has studied the system and said, no, we are all looking at the wrong thing. Let's look internally. Maybe it's not that people are stealing electricity.
But I'm not sure that this is the change that the MD wants to start a process that would actually frustrate everybody for days. The ECG hasn't been able to fix. You
he didn't start that. He didn't start that. Well, but if by so doing,
but I'm not sure that's the kind
well,
of
it's a necessary evil. It's a necessary
Let me bring in John Jinapo, who is ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee. I mean, it does appear that the problem is not going away. I mean, the ECG says that it's solved about 95% of the problem. Looking at the poll we just shared with you, that is far from the truth. 85% of Ghanaians says they do not, of the people who responded to our poll, against 17% who said, yes, their problem has been fixed. About 85% say their problem has not been fixed. What's your own reading of all that is happening?
Thank you very much. I'm getting some very interesting information. First of all, I'm getting a lot of calls from consumers that maybe there's a high level of accountability in ensuring that we have a very good system that is responsive to our needs. I think that if we can break it down in this process, we may make some progress and would achieve something.
But sincerely, from what you've been monitoring and from where you sit, you've been monitoring a lot of the work of ECG. Do you sincerely think that the systems have been hacked?
Yeah, from the information I have gotten, and I do not doubt that source. I'm told that it's a ransomware. And it's a ransomware because there were some disagreements, and in the process, it compromised. They claimed the firewalls. I don't want to sound like an IT expert, but the information I've gotten is that there's a ransomware attack. And the MD himself cannot confirm nor deny. And I'm saying that by now, given the number of days that is passed, at least the MD must be certain as to what is happening. If the MD is not even sure what is happening, then how do they even resolve the problem immediately? And that's very surprising to me. But all of us will keep following this matter, and then we'll see where it takes us.
Kwadwo, so he makes some interesting points, and he says that the issue about source code, he knows and he can confirm that EOCO actually came in to demand for that source code.
See, what
He's
are
also questioning the presence of HAPTEL. What is HAPTEL's role and why 4% commission? You have answers to these?
Well, I can tell you one thing for a fact, that what are we calling a source code? I mean, my brother Jinapo is saying that he doesn't want to sound like an IT expert, but in this conversation, what are we calling a source code? I've told you what a source code is.
Okay.
So the Yoko couldn't have come for a source code, because what is Yoko's business with how a software was developed?
Okay.
What Yoko is interested in is the information, the database.
Okay.
Yoko, yes, came in and took hard drives away. The hard drives they took away is they want the IT department to release how much credit they have disbursed off to customers.
But that's exactly what he
no,
said.
But he's so maybe we are also so maybe that is what we are calling source code
from the IT.
Well, that's fine. Maybe that's what we are calling source code. But if you work for ECG, right, and your management wants you to give them information such that they could be able to do transparency accounting, why wouldn't you be forthcoming with it? Why do we need Yoko to come in to get you to give it up? You don't work for a third party. You work for ECG. So the fact that Yoko was brought in tells you there was a problem. That if the management wants something from the IT department and it's not forthcoming, so we all agree on something. There was information given to Yoko. Yoko is conducting an investigation. They wanted information, it wasn't forthcoming, they came in and took it. But that is not what compromised the system, because they downloaded the information and gave to Yoko. So me and my brother, maybe we are using different things and calling it the same thing. So maybe the source code he's referring to is the database that Yoko took away. Now let's go to the HAPTEL. For me, there's one thing that he said that for me I'm for, which is transparency, tendering and everything. If there's a work to be given, we should make sure that it goes through the right procurement processes. So if HAPTEL is going to be engaged to do the transparent software or platform that the management want, they should make sure that HAPTEL is not giving it on single.
Do you know if they did or not?
They've not done that. Nobody has given that company anything. My information is that they are engaging them to see that what solution can be preferred. Look, you need a... Say that again?
Hello? Okay, go ahead.
You need a solution. You have an IT company. You engage the IT company and look, I need a solution. Okay, give me a proposal. Maybe they should go to more than 2 or 3 companies for the proposals. For me, I think that's the right procurement way to go. Whether they will give sole sourcing to HAPTEL or not, for me, I'm against sole sourcing. And I've always felt that there should be competitive tendering in most of these things. So in that sense, that's not a conversation.
But what do you know about the 4% commission?
There's no such thing. But the point, that's my point. It's still at the engagement point. If the company is now giving them the proposal and telling them what the proposal is going to be, where did this 4%, 3% come in? Look, there is a point we are all missing. ECG is one company. The IT department of ECG is not a separate company from ECG. If the managing director of ECG and the director of finance want information from the IT department, it should not take Yoko to come in. So the minute Yoko...
Can I make a quick point? Can I make a quick point?
This is surprising
to me.
Go on.
It's surprising that in an organization like ECG, there is a head of IT. If the MD wants information, the normal protocol is that you write to the head of IT. And the head of IT says, I won't give it. And it has to take Yoko to come in. Then there's a problem. If I'm MD, and I ask the IT director to give me information, he doesn't give it. That same day, I will suspend him. He won't even come to work.
But my brother, today, Honorable, today, Honorable.
It has to take Yoko to move in. Very surprising.
Yes, but Honorable, today, there are 30,000, there are thousands of people without electricity today because an IT system under the same director that you talk about is off. And there is no hacking, because if you know how compartmental these systems are, each vendor has his own server.
So how do you know there's no hacking? How do you know there's no hacking?
Because, John, Honorable, you know for a fact that all these servers are not linked. Nuri server, IMS server, and
that point has been made.
Yes. So how does somebody hack all of them?
But myself and you, we don't work.
No, but that's my point, that you know, Minister, you've been honorable, you've been a minister at the energy ministry. You are aware of some level of IT systems at the metering level. As a minister, you were aware. You know that these servers are not linked. So how is it hacked?
Can I make a quick point? I beg you, can I make a quick point?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The MD would know better than you and I. Let's agree that the MD is the managing director. He's the head of the organization. He's the chief spokesperson of the organization. You just said there was no hacking. And I'm saying that is too judgmental and conclusive, because if the MD, who is the head and sees with all the information, and I would assume that following this problem, there's been a lot of diagnosis going on, a lot of investigation. If he can tell all of us that he can neither deny nor confirm to the whole nation, let us be a bit hesitant to make a conclusive statement that there was no hacking.
I think he's making a
well, that's fair. But then if we can make a conclusive statement there is no hacking, then we cannot conclude that there was. So from what he's saying, look, there's an investigation going on.
Yeah.
Because of the investigation, the management does not want to say specifically what happened. Because Yoko is investigating, the National Cyber Security is investigating, so the managing director cannot say that there was a hacking. But I, sitting here, okay, with the information I have, is that you cannot have an external hack to multiple servers when those multiple servers are not linked together. Because all the vendors, all the prepaid meter vendors have their own prepaid.
It does look like the ECG doesn't have a backup system.
Well, each of the vendors who run their own servers have their own backups. The way the metering system works is that every vendor has their own server that sits in the IT room. So if you call Nuri, Nuri has a backup for their IT system, which controls the metering that they provide to ECG. Okay. NS has that, IMS has that. All the metering companies has a server in the IT room, and they have a backup. Okay. My point I'm making, that is why we can neither confirm or deny, as my brother is saying. The MD is saying that, look, there's investigation going on. Let's wait for the investigation to be concluded before I can categorically say whether it's hacking or not hacking. But for me, what I am trying to let Honorable understand, he can call them to his committee. He's a ranking member of a Mines Energy Committee. And they will tell him that the dispensing of credit is handled by one person. Okay. That is a fact. Because we have tried to get information from ECG, and we realize that all that information comes from one person. So there's no automated system. So that is something that he will find surprising. And the reason there is a reluctancy and the reason Yoko has to come in is because the managing director is trying to create transparency, and there is a resistance.
Okay. And Johnson Apop made the point right there that why should an IT system that is under ECG, frustrate the whole managing director of
well, it's frustrating the whole country right now.
Definitely.
Well, so it tells you to the extent. Well, that is for them. That is for them to establish, and that is for them to know. Look, you cannot bear in mind they have union. You can't just go and sack somebody based on whims and stuff. It's
but I want to believe that they have a code of ethics.
I understand that. But my point is that the reason that Yoko came in...
can hold the whole country to ransom, the whole company, and the managing director doesn't know whether it's been hacked or not. And that person
I know Kwadwo and Kofi Kapito wants to come in, but I beg you just one. Kwadwo, if you were the MD, and you have a subordinate who is the ICT director, and you ask for information, he blatantly refuses to give it to you. To the extent that you then have to bring in Yoko. And during that process, about 12 of your servers goes down and the whole nation is suffering. And yet, this so-called IT director, who you claim his intransigence has led to this problem, is still at post, he hasn't been interdicted, he hasn't been arrested, he is still going to work and moving about. If ECG were your company, would you still keep this MD at post?
Well, I would still keep that managing director at post because there is a process that leads to people to be interdicted. You cannot just do that in a public. Private companies don't run the same as public institutions. You need hard facts. You need hard facts. You need hard facts to be able to take some of these decisions. It's not just simple to interdict people without the facts, without hardcore evidence. You can't accuse people that they've done this until you have the fact. Now, you ask for information.
And you just said the man has refused, and that brought in Yoko.
Exactly, but the reason, the refusal alone is insubordination. I agree, but it does not also give you the fact to interdict or dismiss.
It's not only insubordination. When you are keeping valid information, that is where, and that can hold the whole country to ransom. It's not just insubordination.
Well, we are going to get to that point. I'm sure the MD can hold brief for himself. I'm not here to hold brief for the MD.
Let me bring in Kofi Kapito, and Kofi Kapito is CEO of the
representatives. It's because all of you cannot meet at a time. That's why you've voted us to represent you. And so we must take this matter up at the very highest level. Demand answers, investigate it, and deal with this matter conclusively.
Kwadwo, in terms of quantification of the losses that ECG will be making within this period, I mean, how would you put it?
Well, ECG has about 4.5 million customers. So if, let's say, even one concession area doesn't have the prepaid, a lot of people will call my brother. So it doesn't mean that just because a lot of people are calling my brother, it means that then 85% or 90% that the MD put out there is wrong.
But I just showed a poll.
I agree, but those can be one concession, because look, there is areas that are not working. Because bear in mind, that's why I try to explain. In every concessionary area, meters, which are third-party vendors, are the ones who operate the prepaid meters, not ECG. Okay. So if their server goes down, it's the third party who has to come and bring back the server, not ECG workers. So the ECG IT staff work with these third-party vendors to basically look at the servers. But the most important thing that my brother Capito made, when the MD of ECG made his press conference, he said that with PLC, they will look at compensating customers out there to basically make sure that they get this thing right. And if anybody has suffered any loss, they will find a way to compensate the customers out there who have gone through this problem. But one important thing that my brother John Jinapo said, he said that we are in this problem. The IT staff are the ones who are helping us come out of this problem. So the position of the MD and the ECG management is that this is not the time to go start sacking people, as he claimed, that if you are asking for information and it's not forthcoming, you go and sack. No, let's resolve the problem. There is a problem that customers, as we all heard, are going through these problems. We are using the very IT people to solve that problem. So the MD and the management, their first focus is to what? Make sure that we resolve this problem. Then the inquest will happen. Okay. Clearly, he admitted to something, that somebody from the IT said they did not resist the MD. They were just cautious in. Cautious of what? Yeah. Okay? If your director of finance, you, the IT department, you don't think your director of finance deserves to have the information you have. So clearly, there was something going on. There was a pushback between two departments. Management coming in and said, look, we want to do something different. The MD only came in barely 6 months. Okay. And he trying to do something different. Honorable Jinapo has always asked that the losses at ECG is high. We, civil society, have said that. Somebody finally is trying to bring down the losses, not only looking at illegal connection, but also looking internally and say, look, this credit that you guys are selling, let's do some accounting. Okay, let's have some clarity between finance and IT. How do you sell it? How many vendors do you have?
Thankfully, John Jinapo has promised that his committee would work on this and actually invite ECG management to explain what exactly is happening. But how much is ECG losing in this?
Well, after the problem has been solved, I'm sure they'll be able to quantify and know the downtime of the various areas, and we'll be able to know how much has been lost to the nation as a result of the downtime. But for now, it's difficult. The main concept, the main concentration, the main focus of everybody is to make sure that customers get the vending machines, the areas to be able to buy. In Kumasi, Nuri is on. Ernest, I'm told by this evening, they are working around the clock. The third-party vendors and the IT staff of ECG are working around the clock. Those who are on the Ernest meters, by this evening, by tomorrow, that will be resolved. In Accra, the Nuri keeps fluctuating. So the Nuri meters in Accra is what is creating a problem in Accra. But the Kumasi, there's only one system, which is the Ernest meters, which is still trying to be worked on. That they've assured that by the end of the day. But look, we are talking about huge concession areas of meters. Even in one area, there are 30,000 people who don't have light, and they are all calling Honorable Jinapo. It will create a problem. If those who have Nuri in Accra are calling you and responding to your poll, it will be a problem. The most important thing is that, look, we cannot, and nobody should jump to the conclusion that there was a hack. Okay? Nobody is saying that there's an internal sabotage. Nobody is saying that. All we know is that Mohamed Dubik, the MD of ECG, wants to do one thing: reduce commercial losses.
Until then?
No, but you see, that's a problem. I am with him. If we have to raise down ECG to the ground and build it up again to reduce the commercial losses, please, let's do that. Okay. We are not going to entertain. Look, we have these pushbacks. Anytime somebody comes in, Budu, you remember the ECG MD called Budu? Do you know one of his complaints that the staff of ECG put up? Okay. That he's trying to build a canteen.
But you see, what Kofi Capito just said, I mean, consumers don't really they don't really give a hoot about what ECG management want to do, whatever. What we need is power.
Let me use your platform to plead with them. Part of your bills you and I pay. There is a 20%, 26% or 25% in the bill that is losses. Okay. In this country now, we have 10% technical losses, 19% commercial losses, so it's 29%. Okay. The benchmark that ECG considers is 26%. Okay. So in your bill, in our bill, our bills are high. Everybody is complaining. Okay. Reason our bills are high is because the losses which the MD is trying to fight as a result of this problem is high.
We wish him all the best, but we still don't care about what happens. I've run out of time.
Listen, Dubik is my brother. He's my little brother. Or actually, he calls me uncle. Right. I wish Dubik well for his endeavor. But guess what?
So all that we need is power. So whatever it takes ECG to get us power is what we're looking for. Whatever internal problems, I don't think the consumer cares
they should care, because this is going to be a long way. We're going to fight it all the way.
Thank you so much, John Jinapo, for your time, and Kofi Kapito. I'm grateful. Enjoy the rest of your evening.